Derek Overstreet, founder of the New Millennium Group. We're a financial planning firm. We have advisors standing by right now to take your call. 888-999-6370. The reason you're going to want to call is we're going to help you retire 3 to 5 years before you thought possible. The way we do this is by putting together a step-by-step plan. So if you're one of those people listening and you'd like a plan in writing, give us a call at 888-999-6370. That's 888-999-6370, or go to utahsfinancialplanner.com.
Some of the most meaningful jewelry you own isn't new. It's inherited. A ring from a grandmother, a necklace full of memories, but no longer your style. Duke's Jewelers reimagines family heirlooms into custom pieces you'll actually wear and love. Working one-on-one, Duke's designers honor the original story while creating something fresh and modern. Don't let meaningful jewelry sit unused. Let it live on beautifully. Visit Duke's Jewelers in Springville or online at dukesjewelers.com, where old stories become new treasures.
Who's got it better than us? Nobody!
Your home for the best sports coverage in Utah. You're listening to Jake Scott and Ben Anderson on 97.5 The KSL Sports Zone.
Jake and Ben, 97.5 The KSL Sports Zone. Want to remind you about Hercules First Federal Credit Union, growing stronger together. Former radio bozo Doug Gottlieb is now the head basketball coach at University of Wisconsin-Green Bay.
Which finished third this year in the Horizon League behind powerhouse Wright State and Robert Morris, and just ahead of up-and-comer Detroit Mercy.
Okay. Christian's SUU.
I had no idea what league they played in or who was in the league.
SUU used to be in the Horizon League back in the day. Yeah, I mean, considering they won like 2 games the year before, I guess it's an improvement.
Yeah, he's doing okay.
I suppose. He did have to quit his radio show. I have not confirmed if he has a podcast still. Do not care. Do not know. I do not care.
Yeah.
But he was on with Colin Cowherd, and they started talking about AJ Dybantsa. And let's listen to those comments.
AJ Dybantsa probably today would go number 1.
First thing everybody should know is that if the Utah Jazz have the number 1 pick, they're taking AJ Dybantsa. How do I know? He went to Utah Prep, which is funded by Ryan Smith. He went to BYU, which is funded by Ryan Smith. Ryan Smith owns the Utah Jazz. If you want to call something tampering, there's never been a person that has ever been tampered with more than AJ Dybantsa to end up with the Utah Jazz. Ever, ever, ever in the history of anything. Everybody knows it. Everybody.
Yes, getting AJ to Utah and then getting AJ to go to BYU was certainly very closely aligned. That was not an accidental development. Now, people should know, not that anyone's listening to this internationally, I think, but where AJ played high school is not exactly in BYU's backyard.
No, it's in southern Utah.
It's in southern Utah, which is not the
Where is
south
it, Ivans?
Of a state in the east, and he comes from Massachusetts. But you talk about southern Massachusetts versus northern Massachusetts. What is it, 90 minutes?
Yeah,
Southern
right.
Utah to northern Utah is 5 or 6 hours. So it's not like he was necessarily close. The same way if a player played in, Miami and then said, well, I want to go to Georgia Tech. It's not like they're actually in each other's backyard. That's actually quite a haul. The state of Florida is disgusting, but it is very large also, and it's hard to get to. Utah is not closely in the backyard, though, yes, I do truly believe A.J. Dybantsa came to play at Utah Prep with an eye of going to BYU. I do think that was aligned.
Help me with this, and I'm asking legitimately. You throw around a word like tampering, and everybody goes, oh, tampering, that's bad. What is he accusing Ryan Smith of doing wrong?
I don't know if he actually is accusing Ryan Smith of doing anything wrong.
He's accusing him of tampering. I want to know.
Sure, if you think tampering's bad, and you're assuming that he's implying that tampering is bad. I don't know if Doug Gottlieb is implying that tampering is actually a bad thing, other than he does want it to be pointed out that this seems like this was set in motion from the time AJ was 17 years old.
But define tampering. What are you talking about? Can Mark Cuban not donate to the University of Indiana?
Right.
Can Miriam Adelson not contribute to UNLV's NIL? I'm serious. Can Ryan Smith not start I don't even know if he started it, but can he not start a basketball academy? Why is that? Again, like, what is he accusing him of? And I don't understand, because the NBA has this little thing called the draft. So
and the lottery.
So what is he accused? Like, what advantage has Ryan Smith given him? Establishing a relationship with a player that he might or might not be able to get 8 years from now? And what's wrong with that anyway?
No, here's kind of the
like, what if it was a GM instead of the owner? What if Danny Ainge goes to every basketball game played in the state? He's at like AA high school games. All of a sudden, Danny Ainge is there. Can he not have a relationship with a player or talk to a player, or is that tampering? I mean, I'm legitimately asking what he is accusing Ryan Smith of doing.
That's
wrong.
Let's start at the end here, and let's say it does happen where the Jazz end up with AJ Dybantsa, and it's gone through this entire process. This is one of the great coups of all time if you're Ryan Smith, in all honesty. Because we have talked about, like, how did the Cleveland Cavaliers win a championship? It just so happened that one of the greatest players of all time was born in their town. How crazy is that? Otherwise, Cleveland is never on the map. They never have Donovan Mitchell because nobody cares about the Cleveland Cavaliers because nobody cared about them before. LeBron got there. It just so happens. So actually, if the Jazz end up with AJ, and he's good, and it goes through this long process of him wanting to be here and happy to be here, and it coincides with going to BYU and going to Utah Prep, credit Ryan, because I'm sure a lot of owners would do that if they felt like they had an ability to do it. In fact, it probably has happened before. But yes, if you have the ability to do it that, straightforward, laying out the plan, I would say credit Ryan, because I don't think there's anything wrong with it. But I will tell you firsthand, not to reverse engineer it, but to go in order, like, I have sat at Jazz games where AJ Dybantsa is in attendance. And I know where Justin Zanuck sits, and I know where Ryan Smith sits, and I know where Danny Ainge sits, and I know what they're doing pregame, and I see where AJ is, and AJ's always with his dad, Ace. And when AJ comes out, they leave. Because they do not get to talk to players right now before the draft. And maybe they do it behind the scenes. Very possible they've done it at BYU. I don't know. But I do know that you can't actually talk to players before that. So some of these tampering rules that they're being accused of, the Jazz actually, at least forward-facing, are not tampering, I think, the way some people would read into based on what Doug Gottlieb is saying.
I just don't know what rule they have broken. And when does that rule go into effect? When can you not talk to a possible draft pick, and whose evaluation is it a draft pick? Like, can Ryan Smith talk to Kepa Keita?
Right.
I don't think he's on any draft boards. So, you know what? Because tampering in the NBA is a thing, right?
Of course.
You cannot talk to somebody who's under contract with another team, period. Right. That's tampering. He's not doing it. Tampering is a thing.
You certainly can't recruit him. You can talk to him, but you can't recruit them.
Tampering is a thing in college. You can't even talk about him. Magic Johnson got fined for making a comment on a late night show.
Paul George.
Because Paul George was under contract with another franchise. That's definable, and you understand what that is in the NBA. In college, tampering is a thing. You're not supposed to talk to another team's player. Now, it happens all the time, of course, but that is definable, and that's what that is.
Yeah.
Just because you own an NBA team, you cannot contribute to a basketball academy? You cannot contribute to a university? That's ridiculous.
And look, I actually don't know how much money Ryan Smith has or has not given to BYU.
I don't
He has
either.
denied giving money to BYU. He has consistently deflected the recruiting efforts
He
of
hasn't
BYU.
denied giving money to BYU.
But
he's downplayed it.
When
He hasn't
has
denied
said,
it.
Like, he's been on this station when AJ Dybantsa committed, and he said, don't credit me. He said, credit everybody else. He said, this is everybody else's doing. Now, that might be in a way to deflect, yes, that he had a part in this or whatever part he played. I don't know what role he played in Utah Prep, to be honest with you, at all. I have no idea.
No, I don't know either. But I guarantee he's responsible for those Jazz tickets. Because you saw AJ at Jazz games. He didn't pay for those, I'm sure.
Yeah, I have no idea.
But it doesn't matter. These are the rules in college basketball. You can contribute to NIL. I don't care if he paid all of it.
Yeah.
I get why he wants to downplay it, because he doesn't want to be the face of it necessarily.
Yeah.
But it doesn't matter. And Doug Gottlieb wished Ryan Smith cared about Wisconsin Green Bay.
Sure, absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
Who's the owner of the Bucks? You think if the Bucks owner was pouring money into old Duggar's program, he would be complaining about somebody else tampering?
Yeah.
That's the funny part.
No, of course not.
Of course not.
No, you would take it.
But I don't think Ryan Smith's doing anything wrong. I don't know. Maybe you know the rules a little bit better than I do, and I guess they're being sensitive about it, but he's not doing a dang thing wrong.
No, I think the Jazz have been very smart about how they're doing it.
Honestly, this is where it's headed. Sooner or later, we're going to get to the European soccer model where you're going to start developing players at these academies, and that the NBA is going to own and run it from the top down. That's the direction that this whole thing is going. Sorry, high school sports, but it's on its way out.
It does already exist. It's called the AAU circuit, but it's not the professional teams that own it. It's the shoe companies that own it.
Yep.
That's what it is.
That's what it is.
And the NBA teams are going to say, why are we letting Nike and Adidas and Reebok decide all of these things? Why are we letting them get in the middle of this? And I know they contribute a lot of money, but we don't want them to control where Donovan Mitchell goes to college or where AJ Dybantsa goes to college. We don't want them to have a say. We want to have a say. And it's not going to be based on the shoes you liked when you were 15 years old anymore. It's going to be based on what we think and how we can recruit you. And yes, I think that is going to happen.
I think that's where we're going. And that's, you know what, that's fine. I may be a little uncomfortable with the prospect. I'm sure college basketball and high school basketball, I'm sure they both hate it. But I think we already see it with RSL, right? And honestly, my opinion with solving the tanking problem, just get rid of the draft. Go to this system where you've got to go discover players and develop them and put them in your academy and do all that stuff. I mean, if you really want to fix tanking, that's the way to fix tanking. How do you get the best players? Well, you develop them. You know, Rudy Gobert went to a basketball academy when he was 12. Uh-huh. And that's how they do it in Europe. And it's the way we're going to end up doing it here.
It's how they do it in the NHL. I mean, it's not like it's foreign to American soil either. You have host families that you will go live with in the city, and you play with their teams, and you get an understanding. And the Mammoth are going to start doing this. Now, you still have to go through the draft, and there is a lottery, which does not mean you're going to necessarily end up with your team. But there are players that work their way up through entire systems based on the city they started. You know, it absolutely has to happen. So it will eventually happen in the NBA as well, and I do think you're right. Now, the NBA may try to crack down on this. They may try and stop it if they can find some straight line. But as you said, the stopgap here is the Jazz are going to have at best a 10% chance of getting AJ Dybantsa in the draft. You know, a 1 in 10 chance.
Oh, not even close to 1 in 10. There's I don't know, Ben, way less than that. If he's going to be the number one pick, the Jazz
will
aren't
have
getting
a 10% chance. If the Jazz right now finish with the 5th worst record, the lottery balls say they have a 10% chance.
Hi, this is Alex Kantrowitz. I'm the host of Big Technology Podcast, a longtime reporter and an on-air contributor to CNBC. And if you're like me, you're trying to figure out how artificial intelligence is changing the business world and our lives. So each week on Big Technology, I bring on key actors from companies building AI tech and outsiders trying to influence it, asking where this is all going. They come from places like NVIDIA, Microsoft, Amazon, and plenty more. So if you want to be smart with your wallet, your career choices, in meetings with your colleagues, and at dinner parties, listen to Big Technology Podcast wherever you get your podcasts.
Hey, sweetie, your mother showed me this Carvana thing for selling the car. I'm going to give it a try. Wish me luck. Me again. I put in the license plate. It gave me an offer. Unbelievable. Okay, I accepted the offer. They're picking it up Tuesday from the driveway. I haven't even left my chair. It's done. The car is gone. I'm holding a check. Anyway, Carvana, give it a whirl. Love ya.
So good, you'll want to leave a voicemail about it. Sell your car today on Carvana. Pickup fees may apply.
Now, the other thing I would say here is if AJ goes number 1 to the Jazz, guys, AJ's going number 1 regardless. AJ's going to be the number 1 overall pick. Like, I actually don't think that's going to be that big of a mystery by the time we get to the draft. And you're going to hear stuff about, oh, this team likes Cam Boozer. Oh, this team really likes Darren Peterson. And this is interesting because we always like to drum up drama at the last minute. You know, there was, again, as you talked about the late, like, what if Scoot Henderson jumps Wemby at the last minute? Like, I actually think by the time we get to the draft, it's going to be pretty obvious that AJ is going to be the number 1 player. I thought he was the best player in college basketball this year. He and Cam Boozer, and he's got a better pro prospect than Cam Boozer does because of his size. So I think those are going to be benefits for him. This is not, because this clip actually goes on and says that, you know, hell or high water, the Jazz would draft AJ over any prospect that could be in this draft.
That's everybody.
Yeah, that's everybody. Correct. That's going to be everybody. That's not just the Utah Jazz, and that's not the Jazz being lazy. I mean, AJ's that level of player.
Man, I don't like Doug Gottlieb.
I'm not a Doug Gottlieb guy either. Again, say no to Doug's. But Yeah, him trying to crack in here like it's something controversial, I think, is probably a little bit misguided. Yeah, and, oh man, if you think BYU recruiting a player to play at a local high school is the first time this has ever happened,
is that what it is? Is that it's BYU?
I do think that is part of it. I do think it's
because everybody goes, "Why would this guy go to BYU?" And so there has to be something nefarious. This is all above board.
Yeah, correct. And go back. Look at who did this? Udoka Azubuike. Udoka Azubuike comes over from Africa and is getting recruited by colleges because he's discovered, and every college wants Udoka to go play at their high school locally.
Yep.
So he goes to their college. Like, AJ came from Massachusetts, right? That's where he's from?
Yep.
Udoka came from Africa.
Yeah.
Like, this is happening. This has been happening for a long time. AJ coming to Utah to end up at BYU was not exactly the most tampering. It just turned out that Udoka Azubuike stunk, and AJ's actually really good. Yeah,
well, Doak was good in college. I mean,
he was. He was a very
Big
good college
12 player of the year.
Yeah,
I mean,
he was.
Can't turn up your nose at that.
Correct.
Charlie Ward didn't play in the NFL, but he still won the Heisman.
Yes. He's a good NBA player.
Average NBA player. Pretty cool that he was a two-sport guy, I suppose.
Yeah, for sure.
But I get your point. No, that happens. I mean, talk to basically any high school coach out there. They'll either have stories or they have their own connections where in Europe, or in this case Africa, but the agents in Europe will bring their players over and stash them in high schools depending on their college programs. It's commonplace.
Yeah, it happens.
But yeah, I don't know what he's complaining about. I just don't get it. Tampering? Is he really tampering, or is he paying a college athlete, which he can? Again, I don't know. Can Mark Cuban not contribute to Indiana basketball?
I don't know. I know I can look at the tweets because we've written the article. I believe Brian wrote this article, and he embedded a tweet from Ryan Smith. And Ted Farron on Twitter, who I don't know who that is, says, BYU's going to a whole new level with you making this happen. He tweets at Ryan. And Ryan Smith says, love the passion, but for your information, I can't take credit. I'm not the donor here. Outside of buying tickets to BYU games, I don't give any money to AJ. I didn't give any money to bring AJ to BYU. Got to give credit where credit's due. And that's all Kevin Young.
Is that a money's fungible kind of thing?
Well, because
I don't believe that Ryan is not contributing to BYU athletics or BYU basketball or whatever. I don't.
Well, this was why I was very skeptical about Morgan Scally out of nowhere donating $2 million to the Utah program. It's like, well, maybe X donor can't donate directly or whatever it is. Maybe Ryan Smith can't donate directly to BYU, but he can help fund Kevin Young's contract. And if Kevin Young then says, well, I've got this money and I'm going to turn around to invest in NIL, and that's not what I'm saying happened here. But there are loopholes to find ways for guys to get money.
$10 million, but it was for new seats.
Yeah, for arena expansion.
Yeah, right.
But we also had another $10 million.
But then we took that dough and we gave it to AJ. Yeah, that feels like a money is fungible kind of thing. Totally. He shouldn't have to hide from it. I honestly don't think he's doing anything wrong. Yeah.
Well, unless the NBA draws a very straight line that says, college players in your state can't go to your school or go to your basketball team. Yeah, I don't know why it would be an issue, honestly.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess I understand why you'd want to downplay it, but I don't know why you'd run from it. Who cares?
And again, AJ has to go through the draft.
Yeah.
Like, there's no way for the Jazz to really tamper with getting him to Utah.
No, he's under contract basically for the first 7 years of his career wherever he's drafted.
Yeah.
So that's the long game. Good for you. But I don't know if I'd call that. I don't think he's doing anything wrong. I really don't.
Now, I do think there is a bit of a clandestine effort by Ryan to bring players through Utah before they get to the NBA to establish that, like, hey, I know Doug Gottlieb thinks Utah's crazy. I know there's this reputation that Utah's crazy. Utah's not that crazy. And the truth is Utah is not that crazy. No. It's not that different compared to most states. Salt Lake City is a lot like a lot of mid-level cities across the country, and it has its quirks, as does every single city. But I do think there is an effort by people, especially Ryan, to establish that, like, Utah's fine.
Well,
and you would be fine if you lived here.
We have disadvantages here in Utah, and we certainly have some wacky laws that aren't necessarily my favorite. But the way that the laws are set up for schools and charter schools and all that stuff, we are pretty, I don't want to say unique because there are other states like it, but we're really able to create these academies. And you can look back to the U.S. ski team and the U.S. ski team academy that's been here since the 80s. My friend Amber that's where she went to high school, where it's a school.
It's a
you go
academy.
to school.
European style.
But the idea is to develop U.S. ski team skiers or whatever. And so we've been doing that for a very long time. And the way that our laws are set up, it's easy to set up these basketball academies or RSL academy or whatever the case may be. So if we have that advantage, Ryan can play it. Why not?
No, that's the other part of
this. Or
this.
not even Ryan. Or we can play it. Attract basketball talent to the state. What's the one down in Utah County? Not the one AJ went to, but the other one. Wasatch Academy?
Wasatch Academy. Yeah.
Pumping out dudes.
Yep.
Why not? Attracting people from all over the country to come here and play basketball. Why is that a bad thing?
And look, we cover the Jazz, and you and I are both close to the Jazz. Me as a writer, you do it in the pre, half, and post-game shows. But I don't think that's why we're saying this. If this works for Ryan, good for him.
It's his money. I don't care.
Yeah, if this ends up being a way that he gets a star player to Utah, again,
eventually.
Yeah, teams have taken advantage of that. Cleveland has taken advantage of having LeBron James in Cleveland. It really helped them. And then they still had to get luck to get the number 1 overall pick to be able to draft him that year. Now, they positioned themselves and they tanked to make sure that they could have a chance to draft him, but it did work out. It's not the first time this has happened. Maybe this direct route, it's possible, but no, certainly not the first team to take advantage of an opportunity of having a player locally.
Utah State has a new head coach, Ben.
Okay.
He had a press conference this morning.
Okay.
We'll let you hear it coming up next.
Okay.
Stay tuned. Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
This is Mike Bolo of Lexicon Valley.
And I'm Bob Garfield. Are you one of those people who sometimes uses words?
Do you communicate or acquire information with, language?
Hey, us too. So join us on Lexicon Valley to chew over the history, culture, and many mysteries of English, plus some wisecracks.
Find us on one of those apps where people listen to podcasts.
Hey, sweetie, your mother showed me this Carvana thing for selling the car. I'm going to give it a try. Wish me luck. Me again. I put in the license plate. It gave me an offer. Unbelievable. Okay, I accepted the offer. They're picking it up Tuesday from the driveway. I haven't even left my chair. It's done. The car's gone. I'm holding a check. Anyway, Carvana, give it a whirl. Love ya.
So good, you'll want to leave a voicemail about it. Sell your car today on Carvana. Pickup fees may apply.